And by the way, John, the new intro, the video,
Yeah.
the one I paid for, it's live. It's working.
Oh, really?
I've got
Good for you.
grass. I've got a grass intro now with the horses.
Oh, I got to look at it. Good.
Yeah.
I was tired of looking at just legs.
Yeah. Well, again, these are still mostly legs, but at least it's grass.
Okay, good.
All right. So big racing on Saturday. Saratoga. Travers. They don't get better than this. Travers. We were going to cover that. Matter of fact, this is one of those shows that is going to be available to everybody on YouTube. And if you're and that's going to be the entire show, and that is also going to be on the day we were recording it, which is right now on Thursday evening. So every once in a while, we give everybody a taste of what they missed by not being a subscriber to Patreon. Don't forget the link in the description area. That's how you join us for $5 a month. So everything we cut out during the week, this is part of that you'll see what you missed. And also keep in mind that you get the opportunity to watch these shows 2 days earlier. So you get 100% of the video and you get to watch it on Thursdays instead of Saturdays. And sometimes we don't post it because I didn't post it a couple weeks ago. So you miss it. Sometimes you miss it completely. But most of the time they are available on Saturday if you do not want to subscribe. And I'm not sure why you wouldn't want to do that for as little as $5 a month. But everybody has their own, what would you call it?
Their own reasons for reasons.
Their own reasons, but the budget, that's a good bit. The budget. Can't afford the $5 a month. Maybe they're paying for some streaming service somewhere. All right. So anyway, how's it going, guys? John, I hear it's raining.
It's pouring as we speak, but it's only Thursday, so let's see.
And Chad, you have a horse running tomorrow?
Maybe.
I guess it depends on the rain.
Everything depends on everything. Unfortunately, in the new world of HISA, everything is everything.
Good old HISA. Definitely something we'll talk more about later in the year. All right, so
it's getting to a point where I'm going to have an epic meltdown on this show that's going to go viral.
I can't wait.
It's getting very, very close. I'm telling you right now.
See,
it was years away, months away. At this point now, it might just be weeks away because I'm
he
getting ready to explode.
He is a ticking time bomb.
You don't want to miss it. Could be a Patreon meltdown.
A ticking time bomb.
Yeah, you won't want to miss it.
We may be off the air after he gets.
It will be epic. I promise it will be worth the $5. It will be very epic. It will be epic.
See? Last week, randomized came through in one of the weirdest big races that I have seen. And you watch like 1,000 races a month, John, but I only watch a handful a week. And but I've never seen anything like this in a big race. I mean, I'm watching the race, and as they're nearing the stretch run, it's like half the field had given up. It's like, nah, we're not even gonna. The trip it's not worth it. Usually, you see one or two horses that give up. It's like almost half the field gave up, and that's why it wasn't a surprise when randomized actually went backwards in his sheet number from 7 to 9.5. That was a terrible race.
The race collapsed. I mean, you could tell by the horse that finished fourth that nobody showed up. Nobody ran.
How?
And randomized was able to get away with slow early fractions. He put him to sleep, and that was it. School was out.
Any comment on how bad that race was, Chad?
I mean, look, it's tough to go a mile and a quarter for anybody, especially 3-year-old fillies that never do it. This is the only time they're asked to do it. And on paper, it was a good field. It's just sometimes paper and the race itself don't match up. And
yep.
Look, I mean, all credit to the team. I mean, she's getting better. That number wasn't wrong. This kind of goes back to what we've seen from these 3-year-olds this year, John. You tell me, but we saw it with 2 fills going into the Derby, and we said, that number can't be really ran a good Derby. We saw it with Arcangelo going into the Peter Pan, into the Belmont. People weren't believers.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Travers here, where maybe some people aren't believers in Mage, despite his big numbers. And we saw it with randomized last week, and I thought that number was a little bit out of whack. It was from that mile shoot at Saratoga, but obviously that number was right because she she paired. I mean, she ran well enough to that number.
Yeah. All right. What are we doing?
All right, Jonathan. We're going to start, first of all. I want to get your, I don't know if you, did you get a chance yet to look at that race over at Del Mar, Chad? The
Which race?
Pat O'Brien?
The Pat O'Brien? Sure.
Yeah, it's the Breeders' Cup race. It's going to be race 10, and the favorite of the race is a 7-2 shot by the name of Anarchist.
Well, I love Anarchist. I've tried to buy Hoist the Gold for quite some time, and they continue to want money like he wins all these races. I love Anarchist. He should have won last time. He gave Elite Power all he can handle the race before that. Look, he's a really, really talented horse that just shows up on race days. He's a throwback, even though he doesn't win that many races. And so maybe you get frustrated if you're a handicapper and you're playing your pick fours and pick fives, like John likes to do with his multi-race horses, because he's always right there. But look, he's a super, super special horse. I just think that, one of these days he's going to get his picture taken. I liked Spirit of McKenna last time, and he was awful. I don't know what happened. It's good to see him right back in the entries. Had trouble staying sound. But I'm going to go with Anarchist again. He's a cool horse, and I do actually think that 7 furlongs is actually his perfect distance. I like the added distance that he gets. It'll help some of these other horses, but I think it'll help Anarchist. I think it'll help Anarchist as well.
Yeah, Anarchist in the last 3 races, 8, 6, 6. One of the 6s was on synthetic. But, John, we're taking a look at the sheets here, and one of the horses surely has a sheet line that is tempting, and that is Sir Atticus.
Yeah, that's the horse I like best. He's lightly raced. He's fresh. These other horses have all been through the ringer this year. He's only got 3 lifetime starts. He's never done anything wrong, and he's 5-1. So let's hope he repeats or makes another forward move. And if he does, he's going to be right there. And at the price, that's who I like.
And Sir Atticus, of course, going to make the start for the famous kind of pink and teal colors that we saw with Zenyatta from the late, great Jerry Moss, unfortunately passing away last week. He's been a big part of this game for a long time, and he'll be sorely missed. So certainly we'll be rooting for Sir Atticus from a emotional standpoint.
What an amazing life he lived, Chad, huh? He was a superstar in the music business, and he was a superstar as an owner.
Founder of A&M Records, right?
Yeah, he had great he had great horses and great record labels, I guess.
And good to see this as a homebred for him as well, from a stallion of his too in Gormley. So lot to like for Sir Atticus. Obviously a big step up here against some old seasoned vets, but certainly a lot to like.
Yeah, Sir Atticus, 3 races, 13, 8, 6. It's a beautiful line for 3 races. Moose Mitchell, by the way, I believe might have the best number. Ran a 4 2 starts ago, 7 last time out. So that is a 5-1 shot. And that is the Breeders' Cup Win in Your Win race at Del Mar, the Pat O'Brien. Now, before we get to our races, we're going to be doing 10 and 12 at Saratoga. So just taking a look at some of the other races, you have a Grade 1 Forgo. That's race number 7, but there's only 5 horses in the field, including 1-2 Elite Power and 6-5 Gunite. So are we going to see a 2-horse stretch duel there, Chad?
Yeah, it's a 2-horse race. It actually would have been more appealing. They hustled High Oak into the race for Mott, who I don't even think he runs, but ultimately, I think at the end of the day, look, I chased Elite Power a long time as well, like Gunite has. He's an amazing horse. He brings it every day. But the 7, it's funny because both of them, their best distance is actually 7/8. And so people will say, well, Elite Power got him going 3/4 last time and came from behind. Gunite's a better 7/8 horse than 3/4 horse, just the way he kind of sets up, the way he's able to get into his stride and his rhythm. Ultimately, I think it falls on Elite Power. Gunite's had his opportunities, and if he was ever going to beat him, it might have been last time. But I do think it'll be a great race, exciting race, and looking forward to watching them both run. Don't forget, Saratoga, the graveyard of favorites. At one of these days, Elite Power might fall into that same fate that Cody's Wish fell into last couple weeks ago.
Cody's Wish was doing something he didn't want to do, though, go that far.
This horse, not so much?
No. Gunite, listen, it's not even close. Not off the numbers. I understand Gunite ran a 3 last time out, and that's a big effort for him. but Elite Power had put 2 2s together, so he ain't getting beat.
And by the way, Goodnight, the last several times he's ran a top, he's bounced. Last one was 5-9. Before that was 5-7. Before that was 5-7. So,
correct.
Next up, and again, there's I believe 5 total Grade 1 races at Saratoga, and we're gonna have 2 of them. But we are also not going to talk about race number 9, or we're not going to go in depth on race number 9, the H. Allen Jerkins, and there's 6 horses in this one. So they got a whopping 1 more additional horse. There's 4 horses that are really battling it out for the win. Arabian Lion, New York Thunder, Fort Bragg, and Verifying. Those are the 4 favorites, top 4 contenders in this race. How do you see it, Chad? Who do you like out of those 4?
First of all, it's a 6-horse race. It's not 4. The other 2 should not be taken lightly.
Okay.
Drew's Gold off the grass race. Look, he had a breeze, and he's a bad workhorse by himself. He's got nobody that can work with him. Drew's Gold's as nice as any of these other 4 horses. He might be a step slower on the sheets, but I'm telling you, Drew's Gold's a nice horse. And 1 in Vermilion is maybe the hardest trying 3-year-old in the country. This is a difficult spot, and he's a front runner who's nowhere close and fast enough to make the lead in this race. Maybe it'll be a little bit of a change in pace and a change in strategy coming off the pace today. Be interested to see who rides him with Luis Saez being out with the collarbone and wrist injury. But look, it's a great race, and they're gonna fly. I mean, there's no doubt. Arabian Lion and New York Thunder are gonna hook up. I mean, they're gonna. This is going to be for some of our old fans out there. And if you're not an old fan, go back and watch the race. This reminds me of the old Allen Jerkins, which back then was called the King's Bishop, with Forestry and 5-Star Day. And they went crazy fractions in front. In fact, Forestry was able to hold on despite sending those early fractions. Any one of these horses can win this race. This is a wide open affair. I'm not smart enough to go on the record and pick anybody. I think this is a wide open race. The only thing I will say is New York Thunder, to me, very similar effort to Chancelot, when Chancelot was amazing in the Amsterdam and then came back and bounced, coming back a little quick in the King's Bishop. So that would be my only concern with New York Thunder. He was so good. I don't know what he got on the sheets, John, but he was so good that day.
He's got a bounce. He ran a 3. I think he has to bounce.
He turned for home. He was running against a couple of nice horses, including Drew's Gold. And at the half-mile pole, Tyler Gaffalione looked back, and I don't even think Tyler can believe how much horse he had underneath him after they went to half in 43-2. I mean, that's almost unheard of in Saratoga, John.
You know that was his first race on the dirt. He was on synthetic before that. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who knows how good he really is. I will say one thing. Drew's Gold, the owner, who's also the trainer, should be shot. He's now giving this horse his 3rd. This was a nice horse coming into Saratoga. He never did anything wrong. Then 2 starts back, he ran on the dirt. He ran okay, but last time out he decides to try the grass, and now he brings him right back. This is going to be 3 races in about 3 weeks or maybe a month. Too much, too quick. This was a nice horse. I don't know why they're rushing him back into this spot. I don't think he has any shot. Listen, it's a 2-horse race, and it's Baffert. So I give the edge to Arabian Lion because I just think he's drawn outside. He's going to be in the right spot. And Fort Bragg, he's going to pick up the pieces because, like Chad said, they're going to be smoking early. So that's just my opinion.
And Arabian Lion does have a really nice sheet line, as you can see, 15.875. So that's really good.
And he's got time coming into the race. So.
Race 11 is the Grade 1 Sword Dancer, and that field is a field of 7, and the favorites there, you have Channel Maker at 7-2, but the main favorite is Stone Age, the 6-5 Chad Brown Flavian Pratt horse, who's coming, actually, it's not right away, but last race was in Doha in February. Matter of fact, this horse has really traveled. Wow, look at all the different places this horse has been. So, 2 wins out of 15 lifetime, though. Stone Age, what do you like about or dislike about Stone Age, Chad?
Well, I mean, I saw him schooling in the paddock today. He looked amazing. Obviously, Chad Brown horses always look good. The thing that I really like about Stone Age is going to be the weather. So this turf course, I imagine they're going to be off the turf tomorrow with the rain that we have right now Thursday night, especially with the big grade ones over there on Saturday. The rail will be at 0. The turf will be at 0 feet, so it'll be on turf that they haven't run on before. But there's going to be give in the ground because there's rain today, there's rain tomorrow. And Stone Age's best races, if you look at his form, you have to go back to when he was in France, but on soft ground. He ran second in the grade 1, St. Cloud. And that race is much, much tougher than the horses he faces here. To me, that's the thing that I like. There's not a lot of soft form in here. I know Chad will make you kind of walk the dog on a good surface last time. But ultimately, most of these horses prefer a little bit more of a firmer surface than we're going to get on Saturday. And for that reason, I'm going to end up picking Stone Age on top.
I can't believe these horses are running for $750,000. I really can't. No one runs better than 11 on the sheets. I mean, they got some slow horses here, some horses that were certainly better last year than they are this year, like Soldier Rising.
Yeah.
But I agree with Chad. I think Stone Age is probably going to do it, but he's 6-5. You don't need to race. It's a bad field for that kind of money, I'll tell you that much.
All right, so that's the prep. Now let's get into our races. And we've got the 2 races coming up here that we're handicapping, and we're going to go inside on the Ballerina and the Sword Dancer. So Ballerina, race number 10, go off about close to 5 o'clock on Saturday. And believe it or not, out of all those grade 1 races, this is the deepest field, 8 horses. So the Ballerina.
I love this race.
So yeah, very good race. A lot of good horses, and good opportunity to make some money because the favorite of the race, 7-5 shot, Echo Zulu, and we can understand why. John, Echo Zulu. You look at his sheet line over the last 5 races, 12-9-7 to end last year, and 7-4 to start this year. But he's never had a 4 before, and that was last month. So we could be getting into dangerous bounce territory for the favorite here. But this horse has won all 3 races at Saratoga. What do you think about the favorite, first of all, John?
I think I would play Echo Zulu to bounce off of the 4 with no time. I love a horse here. I love Wicked Halo. The horse is 8-1. She didn't run well last time out, but that was even though she won the race, she didn't earn a good figure. She was at Ellis Park. She was wide on a day when inside was good. But the race 2 starts back was a 5. 4 races back, she ran a 6. So every time she runs a number, she reacts and comes back with a new top. She's 8-1. It's not like she's short price, And obviously, Echo Zulu, Goodnight Olive, they're the fast horses in the race. But at 8-1, there's no question about it. I would bet Wicked Halo.
The only thing that surprises me, and you might be onto something here a little bit, John, is that Wicked Halo's cross-entered to run in a stake race at Charlestown on Friday night and elected not to go run against Society and run here instead against Echo Zulu. Now, I know it's a grade 1, and it's a homebred for Winchell, and it's gun runner. They're both gun runners. But, there's a lot on the line for stallion and breeding and stuff like that. Steve Asmussen loves Echo Zulu. It's one of his favorite horses of all time. And she got off form last year, and things went wrong before the race at Belmont on Belmont Park, on Belmont Stakes Day, and she came back off the layoff, and she was okay. And she actually, I thought she ran a pretty good race in the Breeders' Cup behind Goodnight Olive, but she wasn't still 100%. She came back in the winning colors, and she was awesome. And you said, wow, that was really, really good. And then she came back and she doubled down on the honorable miss. I mean, visually watching that race was one of the most exciting races I've ever seen in Saratoga. I mean, she does it effortlessly. She's so fast and she's naturally gifted. She's going to be in front of this race. And there's nobody in this race that can really run with her early. And that's the key. Even though it's a large field, like you said, at the end of the day, she's speed of speed. And Giroux gets along with her really, really well. And I just think that nobody's going to be able to catch her. So I'm going to pick Echo Zulu on top. I might be a chalk eating weasel, but I'm going to go with Echo Zulu on top. I really, really like her.
Let's talk about a couple other contenders coming off fives. Goodnight Olive, the 7 is a 9-5 favorite, but the 8, Caramel Swirl, is a 10-1 coming off a 5. Matter of fact, that line is 16-9-5 this year. Goodnight Olive is 8-10-5, but Goodnight Olive ran a 5 last year as well and a 6. Caramel Swirls never ran anything better than a 7 last year. Actually, that was last August in this race. Ran second, ran a 7, coming off a 5 at 10-1. So I'm pretty interested in the 8 Caramel Swirl, John.
I'm interested in this horse as well for different reasons. The first reason is obviously she's 10-1.
Yes.
But if you look at her throughout her career, you have a sheet in front of you. As a 3-year-old at Saratoga, she ran a lifetime top when she ran that 9. It was the best race she ever ran, right?
Yep.
Going at last year, she ran a 7, best race ever at Saratoga.
Yep.
Now she's coming off a 5 with time off. I'm using this horse.
Yes.
For sure, especially at the price.
Yeah, that's why the 5, we were talking about the favorite, but Echo Zulu has a month where Caramel Swirl has 2 months.
Just a little bit different, though. I mean, the way Steve Asmussen trains, he trains to run both of these races. He's been pointing for both these races all year. I mean, this has been her plan. Echo Zulu's plan was to run in both these races, and then we won't see her again until the Breeders' Cup. I mean, it's token Steve Asmussen, so I wouldn't worry about.
But Asmussen, it's the same owner and the same trainer for both Wicked Halo and Echo Zulu. It would be nice if they made them an entry, but.
Would it though? Because you want.
Oh, I want to bet Wicked
Halo. If they're an entry, they're 3-5 instead of 7-5.
I don't want an entry. I was joking because I'm going to get 8-1. It's going to be the longer Asmussen, like the longer Baffert. Always people complaining. Well, here it is. You're going to get the longer Asmussen.
What do you think about Goodnight Olive, Chad? 9-5 shot coming off the 5 with a 5 last year in this race. Won the race, running a 5. So this is the defending champ of the race.
So she's done nothing wrong this year. I don't even hold the 3rd place finish against her because that was just brilliant riding from Tyler Gaffalione and Flavian Pratt on Matarea and Wicked Halo that day. I think ultimately she's a special horse. They toyed with stretching her out. They've looked into a few different things. Ultimately, they decided they wanted to let her do what she does best. But I'll tell you what, the Madison and the Better Roses, even though they were both wins, I thought she struggled to get by American Quite Contrary, who was in good form, and he's in this race. But I felt like, she should have won by a little bit more, and she won by diminishing length. Last time out, I mean, it wasn't pretty. She was a winner, and she was traveling much the best, but it wasn't pretty. And mares, when they get a little bit older and they don't look as sexy, it's a thing to me, and I'm going to prefer the younger model in Echo Zulu rather than the 5-year-old in Goodnight Olive. I just think she might have lost just a smidge of a step, but that's enough for a horse who's in great form in Echo Zulu.
And the rest of the field, Sterling Silver, a long shot that one horse, just overmatched, but at least the sheet line is headed in the right direction. Couple of 8s, but that's not going to get it done. She'd have to have a new top. But 30-1. Matarea, the 2-horse, the Pratt-Cox combo, nothing better than a couple of 8s as well. So you got the 1 at 30-1 with 2 8s, and you got
Greg, these are good horses, but unfortunately, you're going to need to run a 5.
Yeah.
The 8s are fine. They're nice horses if you run an 8, but you need a 5 on Saturday.
What is your play then going to be, John? Your complete.
I'm taking the 5 and exactas with the 6, 7, and 8.
6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You're at 5 on top, and you can reverse them, but 5 was 6, 7, 8. The 5 is the key.
Okay. Chad, you're going to go with the 6?
Yeah, just bingo square, move on. Single and pick 4, pick 5, pick 6. I think she's the champion that we think she is. I think she's back. I think she's 100% back.
We'll find out.
I think we're going to see a wonderful, wonderful performance.
And so that was a wager you just gave?
Yeah.
That was over my head.
Yeah, it was a wager.
So 6 over what? 6
Oh,
over.
6 to win. He's singling the 6. A free
That's
bingo.
it. 6. All the money on the 6. Put
If
it
I had
all
to
in
pick
on the
somebody for
6.
second,
He's all in. He's all the chips are in on the 6.
All right.
and I think Dr. B can run a good 4th. But otherwise, I think it's all that goes.
All right. And I'll go with the 8 over the 7. All right. Now let's go to the big one, the Travers. And how do you compare this year's Travers to other Travers, Chad? Quality of horses?
Well, I don't want to say quality of horses because that's not fair to some of the top horses that have been in the race. It's the deepest Travers we've ever had.
Okay.
I mean, you can run this race 10 times and have 9 different winners.
No, you can't. You can't.
The way the race sets up, the way the race is going to be run, there's so many interesting storylines in here. John's nodding his head no because he loves Mage. He fell in love with Mage, and that's fine. But I think this is a great renewal of the race. I mean, I don't remember the last time we had all 3 winners of the Triple Crown race and the 2-year-old champion.
That's awesome.
I mean,
And how about you have 3 different winners in the Triple Crown races, and the favorite didn't win any of them. So you figure that out.
But that's what I'm saying. It might not be the most quality, but it's the deepest.
And it's certainly not the biggest field because I remember 10 and 12 horse fields in the Travers. This is 7.
When Arrogate won the race, he almost didn't get in. He was going to be on the AE list because he didn't have any stakes earnings.
That was one of the greatest Travers of all times for players.
That was certainly a coming out party for sure.
Yep.
So taking a look at the field.
Was after that.
Before we go over the field, Chad, I got to ask you because you weren't on the show when Forte won that race, the Jim Dandy, and everybody was up in arms that there wasn't a DQ. What did you feel about? What was your opinion on that?
In my opinion, I thought Flavor and Pratt should have got days. I thought Flavor and Pratt instigated the whole thing. It looked like a tag team effort from Brad Cox horses to try and beat Forte, and because of the stigma that's on Irad Ortiz because he's an aggressive rider, he looks like the bad guy at the end of the day. But if you actually watch the race and you watch the head-on from start to finish, it was very much Team France versus Team Puerto Rico. And Florent and Flavian were working together. It looked like the old roller derby. Remember roller derby back in the day? Right?
That's what it was. It was roller derby.
Like the old roller derby. And I didn't think Irad did anything wrong, to be honest with you. He was trying to create a spot, and he rode hard like he always does. He's had far much worse rides that I would complain about than I would in this one. I had no problem with his ride in the Jim Dandy. The blinkers seem to do the trick. They've been schooling him in the paddock the last 2 days with the blinkers on too. So he has a tendency to get a little aggressive and a little cantankerous before his races, and they're trying to get him to calm down to get out this 1.25 mile distance. I know he ran a really good sheet number in the Belmont, but again, on pedigree, he's not really supposed to love 1.25 miles, and I think they want to make sure that he sees it through. Look, the thing that's so cool about this race, and whoever John likes, since he was shaking his head that he loves the horse in this race, I guess, this race is so cool because you're going to have Scotland in front, who's a lightly raced horse, who's going to take a lot of money, and we'll talk about him in a second. But all of the other major players all have similar running styles. They're all going to be making that middle move at the same time. And it's going to be, who gets the best trip at the best time and who finishes best. I just think it's setting up to be one of those ones. I remember for a long time, John, I don't know if you remember when they used to have the intro to Saratoga and they had the Will's Way Travers. And there was 3 heads bobbing on the wire. And I don't remember what year it was or whatever, but that was their come on to talking horses with
that was their intro. That's what Greg should use instead of
which one?
I feel like this race could come down to 3 heads on the wire.
Listen to me. Off the numbers, you're 100% right because every horse in the race runs between a 6 and 8. So they're all within 2 points of each other. So really, you're supposed to shop for some value when that's the case. However, unless you think a horse is going to step forward and, that's what you got to hope for.
Well, Forte, 7-5, and again coming off the win again at the Jim Dandy. So 3 6s in a row.
Not John? Exactly, because the last race was a 6 1/4, but I'm nitpicking. Listen, no one's been a bigger fan of this horse than me. I love this horse in the Derby and everything else. But on Saturday, I think he's going to get beat. You know, the line is somewhat flat. The last 3 races were all 6s. We didn't see any movement. You would have liked to see some movement one way or another. Not only that, ask Violence to go 1.25 miles, not the easiest thing to do. And the horse going to be the favorite. So for that reason, I would play against him.
Look, it's one of these things, and there's some horses like this along the ways. And I understand he's the favorite, and he always looks like there's an air of vulnerability about him. But when you look at it, I mean, until he officially gets disqualified from the hopeful, which, by the way, was a year ago. I'm not sure why it still doesn't show up as being disqualified. But until he gets disqualified, I mean, he has 9 starts with 7 wins in a second.
Yeah, he's a real horse.
He finds a way. He just, you always want to beat him. And then it gets to a point where it's just like, you know what? Let's just applaud the horse for what he is. He's a trier. He's a really, really cool horse. He gives it his all every time. And Todd Pletcher certainly knows how to win these big races. So it's difficult for me to say anything bad about
I'm not saying anything bad. I thought he was the best 3-year-old when the Derby started, and I still think he may be the best 3-year-old. But
I'll tell you, when you talk about that, whoever wins this race does immediately become the 3-year-old favorite, the champion 3-year-old.
Right. Okay.
So I think there's a lot on the line from studs, and look, some of these horses already have stallion homes, some of them don't. This is a big race for the future of all these horses, and I'm not going to knock Forte at all.
What do you think? I'm not knocking him either. He could win, but at 7-5, I think you have better options.
What do you think the odds are going to go off at?
I think that's about right.
Yeah, it'll probably be 6-5, 7-5.
Okay, well, hey, if you're big on Forte, then that's not bad.
Nope.
All right, next up, Arcangelo, Forte killer at the Belmont, and taking a look at that sheet line for Arcangelo, it's not bad. 5-9 to bounce, back to 7. So more forward movement for Arcangelo, John?
Not for me. I think Javier Castellano made a big mistake here. He had a choice to ride Madge or to ride Arcangelo. He opted for Arcangelo. I would have never done that. I think Madge is a much better horse.
Don't think Madge is a better horse than Arcangelo. Look, Arcangelo, again, we've been talking about this since he broke his maiden. What did he get, a 5 when he broke his maiden, John?
Yep.
He's a special horse, and he trains really well, and he trains really forward. Now, Jenna Antonucci is becoming a brand ambassador for horse racing. Everyone seems to be getting behind her, which is great. The sport needs some positive energy behind it. What she's doing is very unconventional. Okay, she hasn't run this horse since the Belmont Stakes. I don't remember the last time a horse won the Travers without running since the Belmont Stakes. She's had her plan. She's had her strategies. The horse works every 10, 11 days. Castellano's been on board for some of these. It's just a little bit of unique decision. The horse seemed like was in really good form while running consistently. We'll see how he runs off the little bit of a freshening here. It's a big ask. I think Arcangelo's a really, really talented horse. I think he can win. I just wish he had a little bit more seasoning against this group of horses who are coming in with races under their belt, whereas he's coming in off a little bit of a layup. I know it's by design. I know that was their plan, and I know he just keeps getting better. But I would have run him one more time. But look, I'm not their team. They had their plan. This has been their plan all along. So who am I to question it? But I am going to pick against him for that reason.
All right, the 3, Tapit Trice. This was one of your picks at the Derby, Chad, and all of a sudden, Tapit Trice is a 12-1 shot in a big race. Had the 5 in the Belmont, bounced to a 13 in the Haskell. Very disappointing Haskell, but you are getting now 12-1 on Tapit Trice, John.
Well, one thing you know for sure, he's moving forward off of the race in the Haskell. He's never run worse than that. He did run a 5-2 starts back. Obviously, if he runs near the 5, he'll be he's 12-1. I could see people that want to make a case for him, but he's like other horses in the race that are just a notch below.
I like this horse. I hated how he was training into the Haskell. I thought that was a bad track for him. With his running style and everything else, he gets a new rider now in Jose Ortiz, who breezed him the other day. They're putting blinkers on. which maybe just cries a little bit of an act of desperation for him because I don't think it's going to give him more speed. But that being said, he's trained better out of the Haskell than he did going into it, for whatever that's worth. As much as I was against him in the Haskell, even though he was one of my picks in the Derby, I'm getting back on the bandwagon here. I really like what I've seen from him. Good energy level. He's trained very well in the morning time. And at 12-1, and I do think he's probably going to be the longest shot in the field. If you're playing exactas and tries, you know he's going to be running late. He's not one that I would dismiss. I do think he definitely has a shot to pick up a check here.
Okay, and now here comes John's horse. The 4 at 4-1. Ran a 5 in the Kentucky Derby upset. Came back with a 10 in the Preakness. Back forward move 8 in the Haskell runner-up in that race last month. So this is your pick, John?
It is my pick, and then I'll tell you why. The whole world was telling me last week how at the last race, I should say, in the Haskell, how he needed that race, and he's pointing towards the Travers and everything else, so he's not going to be fully cranked. So if that's the case, well, now tomorrow he has his opportunity to make the forward move to the 6 or 5 that he has to go back to, and I think he's going to run it. And he's 4-1. He's 4-1. You know, Forte has never run a 5. This horse has a 5. So for that reason, and Arcangelo did run a 5 when he broke his maiden. That was around 1 turn at Gulfstream. This horse was really good in the Derby. The Preakness was 2 weeks off of the 5. He had no shot that day. But now he's sitting on a big race. He's going to run a 5 or better, and he's winning this year's Travers.
I applaud your optimism there, Jonathan. Look, I think ultimately I was impressed. I'm not going to lie. I was impressed in the Haskell. I thought you were crazy for picking him on top in the Haskell, but I did think he ran a good race in the Haskell, and I think he made Castellano's job very difficult. I think going into the Haskell, despite the fact that he was the Derby winner, I think he was going to ride Arcangelo, and then he ran so well in the Haskell, Castellano didn't want to make a decision, and actually Gustavo Delgado and the ownership made the decision for him by him not getting back to them. Look, this horse is going to be ridden by Flavian Pratt now with Luis Saez again. Unfortunately, going to be out for a little while. He's a nice horse. He's a small horse. The seas parted for him in the Derby. This race is much tougher than the Haskell. This race is much tougher than the Florida Derby, even though Forte was in that race. This is the toughest race Mage has ever been in. And this is the first time that I'm going to bring this up since the Derby. And I didn't like him in the Derby for this reason, and he got an unbelievable trip. He is a very, very diminutive horse. He's a small horse with a big heart, but he's a small horse. And if he's going to be behind, and there's not 20 horses in here where one horse gets a trip and everybody else gets trouble. When he needs to work out a trip and go through that hole, I'm not sure he's going to have the same success he had in the Derby. I can see this horse running a big race, but getting stymied, going for a hole that's not there, and having to check and have all sorts of trouble trip. If everything works out, he can win the race. He's talented enough to win the race. I'm just afraid that there's some bigger, stronger horses in this race on this day. I'm going to go against Mage, maybe against my better judgment.
The 5 is National Treasure. Baffert, 8-1. But this horse, the best we've seen is an 8. And that was in the Santa Anita Derby when he placed 4th. Only 2 wins out of 7, John.
Yeah, and that 8 was when the team was training him when they had to be transferred because of the nonsense. Listen, Baffert horses usually, they don't develop. You know, you see what they are early in their career. It's not often where you'll see a Baffert horse run till they're like 5 years old or whatever. You just don't see it. I don't know. I think this horse is what you see is what you have. He's going to run an 8 or 9. You know, he would have to run a new top, and I don't think he's going to do it.
I think he's the speed of the speed and going to take them as far as he can. The fact that he's drawn inside of Scotland, though, I think is actually to his detriment. I don't know how strong that Preakness was. He was a fresh horse at that time. We knew that Baffert was going to try and win the Preakness after, not being allowed to run in the Derby. He looks good. He's trained very well in the morning time. I got no complaints since he shipped in here on Tuesday. All of Baffert's horses that shipped in, all 3 of them look good. But I'm gonna play against him. I agree with you, John, that how good is he overall in the grand scheme of things. I like some of these horses a little bit better, but I do think he's going to the lead. I think he's going to make his presence felt, and they turn for home. National Treasure will be in front, and then everybody else is going to be coming.
The 6 is Disarm. And we got Asmussen again. Rosario on board. 8-1. Coming off an 8 at Saratoga. Ran a 4th into Jim Dandy to Forte. The sheet line was nice to start Disarm's career all the way till he got to a 9 in May. Everything was pretty much forward. Then he went to a 12. Won that race. Came back with the 8 at the Jim Dandy. 8-1 Disarm, John.
Yeah, well, isn't he just like National Treasure and some other horses?
No, because at least National Treasure won a real race.
You're right. I don't know. I think he's more likely to run a 10.
I'm off the Disarm train as well. Look, he's had too many chances. They can call him gun runner all they want, and I know they have the real
he's no gun runner.
If he's gun runner, the gun's been empty, or maybe they've been playing Russian roulette, and maybe this is the time
the empty chamber.
It's not gonna be with my money. They're putting blinkers on. Same thing with Tapatry. It just kind of calls for desperation here. Rosario knows him. I don't know. He's never really taken that next step to me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, when he won the Matt Win, it was in a sloppy track. It was a good race. He beat Verifying. Nobody else was really in that race. He ran sneaky good in the Derby, so we kind of wanted to like him. But, I mean, the Jim Dandy was just so disappointing. I mean, small field. He was fine. Could have, had no excuses at all to me and just didn't fire. So he might win, but it's not going to be with my money. I'm off this arm.
And there's Scotland, 12-1 shot. The morning line long shot next to Tapit Trice at 12-1. 3/8 after an 11 to begin his career at Gulfstream Park. 2 wins back-to-back. 1-for-1 at Saratoga, coming off that win actually in the Curlin last time out last month, John.
He's just like National Treasure. He's like he's lightly raced. That's the only thing he has going for him. But no races as a 2-year-old. Career start number 5 comes on Saturday. I don't think so.
I'm not saying that this horse is Arrogate, but I'd like to pull up Arrogate's first 4 races because they probably look pretty similar to this horse. This horse is getting better at the right time. The horse that he defeated last time, easily defeated last time by 3 lengths, Il Maricolo, was much the best, albeit unconventional, winner of the Smarty Jones on Tuesday, which was a pretty good field where Caligostro actually ran second, and Caligostro he beat last time. Look, this horse is getting better. He's got the right trip. Bill Mott, in his Hall of Fame career, this is some kind of a Cinderella year he's having, despite the fact that, unfortunately, our collector went awry and Cody's Wish got beat last time. If Scotland wins this race, I'm not going to be shocked. I don't think – by the way, he's not going to be 12-1. I think he's going to get cut in half. I think this horse is going to take a lot of action. He's going to be a buzz horse on Saturday afternoon. And I think he's going to work out the perfect trip. He's going to stalk right behind National Treasure and have first jump on everybody else. He looked great schooling in the paddock yesterday. I haven't got a chance to watch him that much. He normally trains on the Oklahoma track. He's been at Saratoga longer than any of the other horses here. This has been his kind of home base last year and this year. He's very, very comfortable in the surroundings. I think Scotland can run a huge, huge race here. And I mean, if he's 12-1, I have to take a long look at him. But I think he's going to get cut in half.
All right. John, you're going with Mage?
4 over 1 and 2. Simple.
4 over 1 and 2. Chad is going to go with?
I'm going to go with the 1 Forte. I'm going to take Forte over Scotland and Arcangelo Tapitrace. So I would say 1.
He's saying no Mage to you.
1 over 237 over 237.
All right. I'm going to go with Arcangelo. I'm gonna buy in.
You and Javier Castellano. That's good.
I'm gonna buy in that the last race was not a mirage. I'm gonna buy in on Miss Antonucci.
All right.
She must be Italian like me, right? Antonucci?
Probably.
That
All right,
works.
guys. See you next week. Dinner time.
All right, John. Appreciate it. Thank you,
Chad, good
Chad.
luck tomorrow. I'll see you in the morning. Thank you. Thanks, Greg. Be
Take
well.
care.
Debbie!
All right. As the boys depart, let me pop up the card for next week. This is this week. So that would be what? What are we looking at? 2nd of September, boys? Let's see. Look at that. Look at that. BC at Del Mar. Something tells me we'll be doing Del Mar next week with 3 Breeders' Cup winning your in races, including the Grade 1 Pacific Classic. Now, these races, whichever ones we decide to do, will not be, the entire show will not be available for free. So, hey, if Chad goes off and you miss it. Now, who knows? We might also do the Jockey Club Gold Cup and the Flower Bowl. What a great week next week. So, got to figure out what we're going to do next week. Because next week, maybe next week's the week where we'll do 3 races. 2, the usual 2, and then an additional bonus, a double bonus. So we might do a double bonus next week. Because we gave we did the early show this week and the full show to YouTube viewers who may have, most of the viewers are not subscribers to our Patreon page. So hopefully you'll see that next week when you'll be missing out for at least a few days on what we're going with. And also keep in mind as not just what we mentioned with Chad's maybe his explosion that's coming soon, but there's a lot of all the really good stuff outside of us handicapping races is when we talk in the beginning of the show. Sometimes we talk for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, and that's when a lot of the really good stuff is talked about, like just inside information is the best way of putting it. Not every week is the scoop. Not every week, you get what you're looking for, but that's what you miss on the shows by not being a subscriber for $5 a month. So, if you really gamble on horse racing, you do it almost for a living, even if you just do a few bucks a week, but you're constantly betting on horse racing on a weekly basis, it's always good to, I have several different streaming services, package deals with a different, like for instance, like for me, I'm into, as you know, on this channel, college football, NFL, NASCAR, of course, horse racing, golf. So I invested in, I've got a $20 investment a month on golf information, golf stats, which I can't really do without if I'm going to handicap golf the proper way. Man, I invested quite a bit in football, and I'm not talking about the package to watch games. I'm talking about information, again, like this information. So those are just a couple of examples. So I've got I got $20 here and $10 there and $10 there, and so I have a pretty good investment, and because I do a whole lot of handicapping, as you know, that's what this channel is about. So if I was a viewer, I would invest in it because I want to know as much as I can, and if there's something out there too that you guys want us to talk about, something that maybe you're getting on another channel, let us know. I don't know what you're getting on another channel that we're not giving you, but if there is something that you can get on another channel, whether it's free or you have to pay for it, let me know. I'd like to know, because if there's something there that I'm just not thinking about, then maybe we'll do it. Whether we offer it for free or not, I have no idea, but let us know. Want to know. And join the Discord community too. We've got a link in the description area for Discord. And this is the way that you'll also be able to talk to John and Chad. And if you guys want to talk to John and Chad, and you want them to, because obviously they're very busy and their time and so forth, then go to Discord, say, John, say, Chad, I got a question for you, or I need to know something about this, that, or the other thing. Let me know. And we'll get that message over to these guys. They're going to see it, and we're going to get them to get involved with you on Discord. So, look, it's only $5 a month. It's not a lot. We have a lot of really good subscribers. They've been loyal, and we're growing a little bit. We'd like and feel like we should be growing a lot more, but I think everybody out there that has been a subscriber is pretty satisfied. And we have our ups and downs like everybody else, but for the most part, statistically speaking, we do a really good job. Chad has been an amazing addition. Of course, John and I have gone back now, 10 years almost doing this, which is just amazing. So let us know. Like I said, that's also very important, what you think about the show and what we could do to give you what you're looking for. Maybe there's something we're not giving you, and we'll do it. Or at least I'll give it a try. So that's what's coming up next week. My guess, Jockey Club Gold Cup, Pacific Classic. I mean, I can't imagine we're not going to do those two races. And then we'll throw in a bonus, a double bonus race, whether it's at Del Mar or at Saratoga. So can't wait. That's another big one coming up next week. And one of these weeks, probably will be after Saratoga, which is coming soon. Once Chad's schedule calms down again after Saratoga, another thing that we're going to do is a live show. So because this one is available, the recording is available to everybody on YouTube today, Thursday. So we do that every several months, almost like a promotion. Okay, so the next promotion that we're going to do is going to be a live show on a Thursday. So that's coming soon. But we just got to get the schedule, so we're back to where Chad has no problem saying, okay, I can do the show at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. Because we were doing these night shows during Saratoga's meet. But once we go back to doing Thursday early, and we know, hey, you know what? Yeah, it's Wednesday, and I know I could do a show tomorrow for sure at 3 o'clock. And we're locked in with Chad saying that. And I'll send out a promo, and that's the reason you want to subscribe to the channel as well. Because then you'll know in advance that the live show is going to be coming on. So you'll know that through subscribing, hitting that bell. See, this bell. Here's the bell. There's the bell. See, you got like, subscribe, and a notification bell. And that'll be a little bit of a ding-ding letting you know that the live show is coming up on our channel. So that's coming soon. So we'll be doing that too. Not sure when. Like I said, probably going to be a little bit after Saratoga. And it's been a busy day on the channel. I've got several shows in the bank that I need to post, and I might even be doing another show tonight. So, but we'll be back next week for more horse racing coverage here on the Prime Sports Network YouTube channel. And again, thanks to Chad and John and everybody out there that have actually been crazy enough to stay the entire 53 minutes and 50 seconds.